Today I'm talking to you about the story of Pinocchio. And no, I don't mean the Disney version. I mean the original story written by an Italian gentleman named Carlo Collodi between 1881 and 1883. Now I say between 1881 and 1883 because it was originally a serial released in a children's journal titled The Adventures of Pinocchio. This story was originally written as a tragedy to serve as a warning to the young Italians reading it that if you didn't behave, work hard, and listen to adults, you would suffer severe consequences. Pinocchio's bad behavior throughout the story is not intended to be charming or endearing, and the language the characters use to describe Pinocchio makes this pretty clear. Collodi describes Pinocchio as rascal, imp, scapegrace, disgrace, ragamuffin, and confirmed rogue. Even Pinocchio's own father, Geppetto, called him a wretched boy. Collodi does this so that, unlike in other fairy tales, children don't aspire to follow in the footsteps of the protagonist. Children aren't meant to read of him ditching school to go see a show and dream of doing the same. Children are instead meant to fear the punishments and terrible opinions people will have of them as a result of this behavior and be deterred from doing the same. This is not a feel-good story. It's not meant to give us hope or inspire us to follow our dreams. We feel fearful, uncomfortable, and ashamed when reading this story because we're supposed to. There is no happy ending because the story serves as a warning. If we don't fall in line, behave, and contribute to society, we will be beaten, burned, starved, and eventually die. And I'm being serious about that last part. In the original version, Collodi intended to conclude the series with the puppet facing the ultimate consequence. Pinocchio was supposed to be executed, strung up in a tree by the cat and the fox in an attempt to relieve him of the gold pieces he had hidden in his mouth. It was decided, however, that this was a bit too morbid for a children's story, and the ending had to be changed. Thus enters the fairy with the osier hair. Despite all of his antics, this fairy sees something good in Pinocchio and time in and time again swoops in to save him. She freed him from his hanging tree. When his laziness led to near starvation in the land of the busy bees, she gives him food by enticing him to help her carry water jugs. And then she also raises him as a mother would, helping him to go to school and get an education. And when he passed first in all his exams, she intended to turn him into a real boy. Unfortunately for Pinocchio, however, his laziness managed to get the best of him again. He allowed himself to be led astray by his friend Lampwick, abandoning the fairy and the opportunity to become a real boy and his obligations to school to go to the land of toys, where he could play all day and never have to work. In his heart, he knows this is wrong, and he even hears a voice whispering along the way, telling him to remember that boys who stop studying and turn their backs on books and schools and teachers in order to give all their time to nonsense and pleasure sooner come to grief. Yet Pinocchio still goes, and he did have fun, but the marvel of this venture was short-lived. When he woke up with donkey's ears, he realized he had made a big mistake. Collodi believes that a young boy who does not undergo a traditional education will only get naughtier and will grow up a perfect donkey. So, to punish Pinocchio and the other boys for their laziness, the young residents of the land of toys all turn into literal donkeys. Collodi takes every opportunity he can to point out Pinocchio's character flaws. Even at what's meant to be his redeeming moment at the end of the story, when he gives up his savings to ensure his parents are cared for in their old age, he's again told that he's still not a model of good behavior and obedience. Sure, he's forgiven for all his old mischief and is turned into a real boy, but he's come short of meeting those basic expectations that were set at the beginning of the story. And that brings us back to the idea that this story is a warning. Carlo Collodi set Pinocchio apart from other fairy tale protagonists by making him not someone that we should aspire to be, but someone we should aspire to be better than.